I discovered my husband Doug had disappeared, leaving only a cold note and $20,000 in maxed-out credit cards. As I collapsed on the kitchen floor sobbing, my 10-year-old son Tyler kneels beside me, his small hand on my shoulder. "Mom, it's okay. I took care of it," he whispers with surprising confidence. I'm too devastated to question what he means. 3 days later, while in a meeting with a debt counselor, my phone rings. It's Tyler, calling from school, his voice trembling with panic. "Mom, I think I did something really bad. I should have seen it coming." After 12 years of what I thought was a happy marriage, there had been signs. Doug and I met during my sophomore year of college in Pennsylvania. He was the handsome business major who swept me off my feet with his ambitious plans and charming smile. We married after graduation, settled in a pleasant suburban neighborhood outside Philadelphia, and welcomed our son Tyler 2 years later. Doug climbed the corporate ladder at a financial services firm, while I built a career as a freelance graphic designer, allowing me the flexibility to be available for Tyler. Our life seemed picture-perfect from the outside. 4-bedroom house with a fenced backyard, family vacations to Florida every summer, Tyler enrolled in the best schools. I treasured our little family, believing we had built something special and lasting. The first cracks appeared so subtly I dismissed them. Doug started working later, his phone suddenly password protected. Weekend golf games with colleagues stretched into late-night drinks I wasn't invited to join. When I mentioned these changes, Doug would laugh and call me paranoid. "Lorraine, you're overthinking everything," he'd say. "The company's going through a restructuring. I'm just trying to secure our future." I believed him because I wanted to. I organized date nights, suggested couples therapy when the distance between us grew, but Doug always had excuses. Too busy, too tired. Next month, when things calmed down, the morning everything fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I was preparing Tyler's lunch for school, planning my work schedule around his soccer practice later that afternoon. When I went to wake Doug, his side of the bed was empty and still made from the day before. I called his name, checked the guest room, the basement, nothing. That's when I saw the envelope on the kitchen counter with my name written in his familiar handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Lorraine, I can't do this anymore. I've been unhappy for years, and you've been too caught up in Tyler to notice. Stacy and I are starting fresh. I need space to figure things out. I'll be in touch about arrangements for Tyler." Doug. Stacy, his 27-year-old assistant. The woman he'd assured me was just a colleague when I noticed how frequently her name came up in conversation. I sank to the floor, letter clutched in my hand, as the room spun around me. Tyler found me there 15 minutes later when he came downstairs for breakfast. "Mom, are you sick?" His small face filled with concern as he knelt beside me. I couldn't find words. How do you tell your 10-year-old that his father has abandoned you both for another woman? The rest of that day passed in a blur. I somehow managed to get Tyler to school, assuring him everything would be okay while feeling like my entire world was collapsing. Then I started the grim task of assessing our financial situation. That's when the second shock hit. Our joint checking account had been drained to the minimum balance. The savings account emptied. 3 credit cards maxed out to their $20,000 limits, with cash advances and purchases I knew nothing about. As I frantically searched for any remaining assets, I discovered the most heartbreaking betrayal of all. Tyler's college fund, which we'd been building since his birth, had been liquidated. An additional $15,000 gone. All total, Doug had left us with $35,000 of debt and no financial cushion whatsoever. I tried calling him, but his number was already disconnected. His email returned an automated response. His social media accounts blocked me. He had effectively vanished, leaving me holding the financial wreckage of our life together. When I picked up Tyler from school, I struggled to maintain composure. His innocent questions about where Dad was felt like daggers. "Did Dad have to go on a business trip again?" he asked as we drove home. "Tyler, honey. I began, then realized I had no idea how to continue. Dad is going to be away for a while. He and I need to figure some things out. Is it because you were crying this morning? His perceptiveness startled me. Partly, yes. Your dad decided he needed to leave for a while. Tyler was quiet for a moment. Is it because of Stacy? I heard him talking to her on the phone when you were at the grocery store on Sunday. My chest tightened. Had my 10-year-old known before me? That night, after I put Tyler to bed, I found him sitting up with my laptop, quickly shutting it when I entered. What are you doing, sweetheart? It's late. Nothing, he said too quickly. Just playing a game. I was too emotionally drained to question him further. As I turned to leave, he called out, Mom, it's going to be okay. I took care of it. Took care of what, honey? Dad leaving. Don't worry. I assumed it was just a child's way of offering comfort. If only I had asked more questions. The next morning, reality crashed down with brutal force. The mortgage payment would be due in 2 weeks. Tyler needed new soccer cleats. The refrigerator was half empty, and I had no idea how to address any of it with less than $300 in accessible funds. I called my best friend Judy in tears. That absolute snake, she fumed after I explained the situation. Who empties their child's college fund? Who leaves their family with maxed-out credit cards? Someone who's been planning an exit for months, I said, the realization dawning on me. This wasn't spontaneous. He's been setting this up. Judy arrived an hour later with groceries and a bottle of wine. First things first, she said, taking charge in a way I desperately needed. You need a lawyer. Today. She watched Tyler while I met with Ashley Benson, a family law attorney whose name Judy had gotten from a divorced colleague. Ashley's office was warm but professional, her manner direct but kind as I stumbled through my story. Unfortunately, what you're describing isn't unusual, she said after I finished. And I need to be honest with you about the legal realities. In Pennsylvania, marital debt is generally considered joint responsibility, regardless of which spouse incurred it. But I didn't know about any of these expenses, I protested. That can certainly be argued in court, especially regarding the liquidation of your son's college fund. But these cases are complicated and often take months or even years to resolve. She leaned forward. My immediate concern is stabilizing your situation. Has your husband made any attempt to contact your son? The question hit me like a physical blow. In my financial panic, I hadn't even considered that Doug might try to take Tyler too. No, I whispered. Nothing. That's actually helpful for now, Ashley said. It establishes a pattern of abandonment. Document everything from here forward. Every attempt to contact him, every expense related to your son, every bill that arrives from debt he incurred. I left her office with a folder of information and a $4,000 retainer agreement I had no means to pay. One more item on a growing mountain of debt. At home, I found Tyler unusually quiet, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework while Judy prepared dinner. Everything okay, buddy? I asked, kissing the top of his head. Yeah, he answered without looking up. How was your meeting? The adultness of his question caught me off guard. It was informative, I said carefully. We're going to figure this out, I promise. That night, I created a spreadsheet of our expenses, trying to identify anything that could be cut. Cable service, gone. Streaming subscriptions, canceled. Tyler's summer camp, painfully removed from the budget. I applied for emergency credit card hardship programs, called the mortgage company to explain my situation, and sent out emails to my existing design clients asking for additional projects. I slept fitfully, waking to the sound of typing from down the hall. At 2 a.m, I found Tyler again on my laptop. Tyler, what are you doing up? It's a school night. He jumped, clearly startled, just couldn't sleep. What are you working on? Nothing, just a school project. He closed the laptop quickly, too quickly. Tyler, I need you to be honest with me. Are you messaging your dad? His eyes widened. No. I would never. He left us. I hate him. The vehemence in his voice shocked me. Honey, it's complicated. Your dad made some bad choices, but hate is a very strong word. He hurt you. He took my college money. Judy told me that's why you were crying. His small hands balled into fists. But don't worry, Mom. I took care of it. Again, that strange phrase. What do you mean, you took care of it? Nothing, he said quickly. I just mean I'm going to help more around the house. I can make my own lunches and stuff. I was too exhausted to press further, and the explanation seemed plausible enough. I sent him back to bed, making a mental note to monitor his computer usage more carefully. The next 2 days passed in a blur of phone calls, applications for assistance programs, and attempts to reassure Tyler that we would be okay despite having no clear path forward. I met with a debt counselor who painted a grim picture of my options, none of which seemed to address the immediacy of our needs. On the 3rd day after Doug's departure, I was sitting in the debt counselor's office when my phone rang. Tyler's school appeared on the caller ID. Mrs. Jenkins, this is Principal Sanders at Westfield Elementary. You need to come to the school immediately regarding Tyler. Is he hurt? What happened? Panic surged through me. He's physically fine, but there's been an incident. I think it's best we discuss it in person. I raced to the school, my mind conjuring worst-case scenarios. Tyler being bullied, Tyler getting in a fight, Tyler having a complete meltdown over his father's abandonment. Nothing prepared me for what I found. Tyler sat in Principal Sanders' office, tears streaming down his face. The school counselor, Miss Peterson, sat beside him with a concerned expression. "Mom!" Tyler cried when he saw me. "I'm sorry. I thought I was helping." Mrs. Jenkins, Principal Sanders began gravely. "Tyler has been using the school computers to send some very concerning emails. I just wanted him to come back," Tyler sobbed. "Or at least give us our money back." Dread pooled in my stomach. "Who has he been emailing?" "Apparently, your husband." Principal Sanders slid a printed page across his desk, and these messages could be construed as threatening. I read in horror what my 10-year-old son had written, posing as me. Demands for money. Threats to expose Doug's affair to his boss if he didn't return what he'd stolen. Even a vague reference to making him sorry if he didn't respond within 48 hours. "I found Dad's work email on an old birthday card," Tyler explained between sobs. "I thought if he thought you were really mad, he'd give our money back." "Tyler, why would you do this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm despite my shock. "I saw it on a crime show. When bad guys steal money, sometimes they give it back if they're scared of getting caught." His logic was so childish yet so painfully earnest. "And Dad is a bad guy now, right? He stole from us." I pulled him into my arms, meeting the principal's eyes over his head. "I am so sorry about this. We're going through a difficult family situation, but this is completely unacceptable behavior." "We understand," Miss Peterson said gently. "But we're concerned about Tyler's emotional state. This level of response suggests he's experiencing significant trauma." As I held my sobbing son, he made another confession that turned my blood cold. "I also emailed his work's HR department about Stacy," he whispered. "I told them they were having an affair and stealing money." In that moment, I realized my 10-year-old son had just made our already desperate situation potentially much, much worse. The ride home from school was silent. Tyler stared out the window, occasionally wiping tears from his cheeks. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, trying to process everything that had happened. "Am I in a lot of trouble?" Tyler finally asked in a small voice. I took a deep breath. "I'm not angry with you, Tyler. I'm concerned. What you did was very serious, but I understand why you thought you were helping. Principal Sanders said I could get in legal trouble. Could I go to jail?" The genuine fear in his voice broke my heart. "No, sweetheart. You're 10 years old. You're not going to jail." I pulled into our driveway and turned to face him. But we need to talk about appropriate ways to handle our feelings about what Dad did. Inside, I made hot chocolate, a special treat reserved for serious conversations. As Tyler wrapped his hands around the mug, I gently probed for more details. Tyler, I need to know exactly what you sent and to whom. Everything. Over the next hour, the full picture emerged, each revelation worse than the last. Besides the threatening emails to Doug and the message to HR, Tyler had also somehow found and contacted Stacy through social media, telling her she was a homewrecker and would pay for what she did to our family. How did you even know how to do all this? I asked, astounded by the scope of his digital campaign. Tyler shrugged. YouTube has videos about everything, and Jackson's older brother showed us how to make fake accounts last summer. I massaged my temples, feeling a migraine building. Tyler, what you did was essentially harassment. Those are very serious accusations that could have major consequences. But Dad really did take our money, he argued, a flash of anger cutting through his remorse. And he really is with Stacy. I just told the truth. The truth isn't the issue. It's how you went about it. I searched for words he could understand. It's like, if someone steals your bike, you call the police. You don't follow them home and throw rocks at their windows. But you didn't call the police on Dad. His simple observation hit like a punch to the gut. In his 10-year-old mind, if his father had done something wrong but wasn't being punished, someone needed to take action. And with me drowning in paperwork and tears, Tyler had appointed himself our family's avenger. There are different kinds of problems with different kinds of solutions, I explained. What Dad did was wrong, but it's something we need to handle through lawyers and courts, not threats. Before Tyler could respond, my phone chimed with an email notification. The sender was Doug. Subject line, "Make your son stop." I opened it with trembling fingers. Lorraine, I'm getting harassing messages from you and emails to my workplace that are threatening my professional reputation. This needs to stop immediately, or I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action. I've already spoken to an attorney. I left because you've become unstable, and this proves it. Doug. My stomach dropped. Not a word about the money he'd taken. Not a single question about how his son was coping with his abandonment. Just threats and accusations. Is that from Dad? Tyler asked, trying to peer at my phone. I locked the screen quickly. Yes, and he's very upset about the emails. This is exactly why we don't handle problems this way, Tyler. It only makes things worse. The school counselor, Madison Peterson, called later that evening. She spoke compassionately about Tyler's emotional state and recommended he speak with someone professionally. Children often internalize responsibility for parental separation, she explained. In Tyler's case, he's channeling that into a misguided attempt to fix the situation. He's taking on an adult role that's inappropriate and unhealthy for his development. I scheduled an appointment with a child psychologist, she recommended, adding another expense I couldn't afford to my growing list of financial concerns. That night, after Tyler was asleep, I sent a brief reply to Doug. The emails were sent by Tyler without my knowledge. He's hurt and confused by your abandonment. We need to discuss the financial situation you've left us in. Please call me. His response came within minutes. I don't believe you. A 10-year-old doesn't know how to contact HR departments or make threats about exposing affairs. Stop using our son as a weapon or you'll regret it. I stared at the screen in disbelief. The man I'd spent 12 years with, the father of my child, genuinely believed I was capable of such manipulation. The gulf between us had grown far wider than I'd realized. The following morning, Principal Warren Sanders called to request another meeting. This time, the conference room contained not only the principal and school counselor, but also the school district's lawyer. Mrs. Jenkins, we need to address Tyler's concerning internet activities conducted on school computers, Principal Sanders began. While we understand your family situation, we have strict policies about appropriate technology use. The lawyer, a stern woman named Barbara Wells, added, The school could potentially be held liable if threats or harassment are conducted using our resources. I felt my face flush with shame and anxiety. I completely understand. Tyler has been disciplined at home, and I've restricted his internet access. He's also been scheduled for counseling. Miss Peterson, the counselor, interjected with a more supportive tone. We're genuinely concerned about Tyler's emotional well-being. This behavior represents a significant departure from his usual exemplary conduct. He's acting out because his father emptied our bank accounts, maxed out our credit cards, and disappeared with another woman, I said, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Tyler found out his college fund is gone too. He's trying to process betrayal no 10-year-old should have to understand. A silence fell over the room. Principal Sanders cleared his throat. That certainly provides important context. Nevertheless, Tyler will serve 2 days of in-school suspension for violation of our technology policies. During this time, Miss Peterson will work with him on more appropriate ways to express his feelings. I nodded, grateful for the relatively mild consequence. That seems fair. Thank you for your understanding. As I was leaving, Miss Peterson walked me to my car. Lorraine, is there anything the school can do to help during this transition? We have resources for families in crisis. The genuine kindness in her voice nearly undid me. I hadn't realized how desperately I needed someone to acknowledge the trauma we were experiencing. Tyler might need some flexibility with homework deadlines, I admitted. And I'm not sure we'll be able to afford the class field trip to Washington next month. Consider those things handled, she assured me. And please, let us know if other needs arise. That small gesture of support gave me strength to face what came next. When I arrived home, a certified letter awaited me. Inside was an official cease and desist letter from Douglas Jenkins' attorney, threatening to sue for full custody of Tyler based on my emotional instability and using their child as a weapon. The letter felt like a physical assault. Doug had abandoned us, stolen our financial security, and now was threatening to take my son as well. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me as I read the cold legal language accusing me of being an unfit parent. I called Ashley, my attorney, with shaking hands. They're bluffing, she assured me after I read her the letter. No judge would grant custody to a father who cleaned out family accounts and disappeared without warning. But this does tell us something important about his strategy. Which is what? I asked, desperate for any insight. He's planning to paint himself as the victim, claiming he left an emotionally unstable environment. It's actually a common tactic when someone knows they've done something financially unethical. They try to shift focus to the other person's reaction. So what do? Document everything. Start a journal of Tyler's emotional state and your responses. Save every communication from Doug. And whatever you do, don't respond emotionally to provocations. That's exactly what they want. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills I couldn't pay, threats from my estranged husband, and the knowledge that my son was suffering consequences for trying to protect me when I should have been protecting him. For the first time since Doug left, I allowed myself to feel something beyond shock and grief. I felt anger, pure, clarifying anger that burned away some of the fog of victimhood. Doug had done this to us deliberately, calculating his exit to maximize his freedom while leaving us with nothing. And now, he was threatening to take my son. Something shifted inside me in that moment. A determination took root. I would not be a passive recipient of Doug's cruelty. I would fight back, not with Tyler's misguided tactics, but with every legal and ethical resource I could muster. I just had no idea how difficult that fight would become. The weeks that followed brought new lows I never imagined possible. The mortgage company sent a notice of default. The credit card companies began calling daily. My freelance clients were sympathetic, but had limited additional work to offer. I took on a night job entering data for a local insurance office, sleeping only 4 hours each night. Each morning, I maintained a brave face for Tyler, making breakfast and checking homework as if our world wasn't crumbling. But the strain was showing in both of us. Dark circles appeared under my eyes. Tyler became withdrawn, his usual enthusiasm for soccer and video games replaced by quiet wariness, as if constantly bracing for the next disaster. His 2 days of in-school suspension ended, but his troubles didn't. His grades began slipping. His teacher, Grace Wilson, emailed concerns about his difficulty concentrating. Twice I received calls that he'd fallen asleep in class. "I'm worried about both of you," Judy said bluntly during one of her now regular dinner visits. These meals she brought were often our only proper nutrition during increasingly sparse weeks. "We're managing," I insisted, though the words sounded hollow even to me. "You're running yourself into the ground," she countered. "And Tyler looks like he's carrying the weight of an adult. Have you heard anything from Doug?" "Nothing directly, only through his attorney. I showed her the latest letter, demanding I sell the house and split the proceeds. The house he left you with no means to pay for?" Judy's voice rose in indignation. "The absolute nerve. Ashley says it's actually standard procedure. Since it's marital property, he's entitled to half its value. The injustice of it burned, but I'd become almost numb to new financial blows. What about the debt he left you with? The college fund? Surely the court will consider that. Eventually, maybe. But courts move slowly, and we need solutions now." My sister Heather flew in from Arizona the following weekend, her presence a lifeline I desperately needed. While she took Tyler to the movies and for ice cream, I finally allowed myself to break down completely. "I'm going to lose everything," I sobbed as she held me. "The house, my credit, maybe even Tyler if Doug convinces a judge I'm unstable." "That's not going to happen," Heather said firmly. "You've survived worse." She was referring to our childhood with an alcoholic father and an enabling mother, the chaos we'd endured before I left for college, with determination never to live in such instability again. The irony that I'd ended up here despite all my careful planning wasn't lost on me. Heather helped me create a more sustainable schedule, taking over some of my freelance projects she could do remotely from Arizona. She deep cleaned the house, stocked the freezer with prepared meals, and most importantly, spent hours talking with Tyler. "He's scared," she told me candidly. "Not just about the practical changes, but that you might break too. He sees how hard you're working and how tired you are. He thinks it's his job to fix things." "He's 10, I said. "It's not his responsibility to fix anything." "Tell him that," Heather advised. "Explicitly and often. Kids internalize responsibility in ways we don't expect." The morning Heather left to return to her own family, an eviction warning notice appeared on our front door. We had 30 days to become current on the mortgage or face foreclosure proceedings. That same afternoon, I was scrolling mindlessly through social media during my lunch break when a photo stopped my breath. Doug and Stacy, arms around each other on a Hawaiian beach, her left hand prominently displaying a diamond ring that had to be at least 3 carats. The caption read, "New beginnings with my soulmate. Finally free from toxic relationships and ready to build a beautiful future together. Hawaiian vacation. Diamond ring. Finally free." Each element of the image felt like a deliberate knife twist. He had liquidated our son's education fund and maxed out our credit cards to finance his new relationship, leaving us facing eviction while he proposed on a tropical beach. I closed my office door and sobbed until I had no tears left, then washed my face and returned to work. That evening, I picked up Tyler from his friend Jackson's house, maintaining conversation about school projects while feeling completely hollow inside. As Tyler got ready for bed, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mom, are we going to have to move?" I sat beside him on his bed, the superhero comforter now seeming painfully childish against the adult concerns weighing on him. "It's possible," I said honestly. "The house is expensive, and without Dad's income, it's hard to make the payments." Is it because I got in trouble at school? Are we spending too much money on my therapy? The guilt in his voice shattered what remained of my heart. No, sweetheart. None of this is because of anything you did. Your therapy is important, and we're going to make sure you continue regardless of where we live. I saw Dad on Instagram, he admitted quietly. Jackson's sister follows Stacy. They're in Hawaii. My stomach dropped. Tyler, you shouldn't be looking at their social media. It only makes things harder. He bought her a really big ring. That's our money, isn't it? My college money? The perceptiveness of children never ceased to amaze me, even as it broke my heart. We don't know that for sure. But yes, Dad has made choices with money that have hurt us. Tyler was quiet for a moment. I hate him, he finally whispered. I used to want to be just like him when I grew up. Now I never want to see him again. I pulled him close, feeling his small body shake with suppressed sobs. You're allowed to feel angry. What he did was wrong, but hate hurts the person feeling it more than the person it's directed at. Then why do you hate him too? I hear you crying at night. His words stunned me into silence. I had tried so hard to shield Tyler from my darkest emotions, but children sense far more than we give them credit for. I'm angry and hurt, I finally said. And yes, sometimes I feel something like hate, but I'm trying to move past those feelings because they don't help us build a new life. And that's what we're going to do, Tyler. We're going to build something new and strong, just the two of us. He nodded against my shoulder. I'm sorry for making things worse with the emails. You didn't make things worse. You were trying to protect us the only way you knew how. I kissed the top of his head. But from now on, let me handle the adult problems. Your job is to be 10. To do your homework and play soccer and hang out with your friends. My job is everything else. That night, after Tyler was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad. If I'd learned anything from my childhood, it was that wallowing in victimhood solved nothing. Doug had deliberately devastated us financially and was now enjoying the fruits of his theft while threatening to take my son. The time for tears was over. I wrote at the top of the page, "Fight back plan." The question was, with no money, limited legal resources, and a traumatized child depending on me, how exactly was I supposed to fight? The turning point came from an unexpected source. During one particularly bleak evening of searching for affordable apartment rentals, I found myself on a Facebook support group for single parents. After lurking for weeks, I finally posted our story, desperate for any advice on handling the financial devastation. Responses flooded in, many sharing similar experiences. One comment stood out from a user named Nicole. I'm a forensic accountant who specializes in divorce cases. Your husband's financial maneuvers sound methodical and possibly illegal. I'd be happy to look at your documents pro bono. This kind of financial abuse makes my blood boil. Initially skeptical, I arranged a video call with Nicole the following day. She was a sharp-featured woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor that immediately put me at ease. What your husband did follows a pattern I see regularly, she explained after I shared our financial details. The gradual liquidation of assets, maxing out credit before disappearance. It's calculated to provide maximum funds for himself while leaving you holding the debt. Is there anything I can do? I asked, hope flickering for the first time in weeks. Potentially. The courts take a dim view of this kind of financial misconduct during divorce proceedings. Do you have access to any financial records from before he left? Tax returns, bank statements, investment accounts? I thought for a moment. Most of our documents were digital, but Doug kept backups on an external hard drive in his home office. I haven't checked if he took it. Find that drive, Nicole advised. And any other financial documentation you can. I can help build a paper trail that might recover some of what he took. After our call, I searched Doug's office, a room I'd avoided since his departure. The hard drive was still plugged into the desktop computer he'd left behind, apparently deemed not worth taking. I also found a file box containing hard copies of our tax returns for the past 5 years, our marriage certificate, property deed, and various insurance policies. That night, with Tyler asleep, I began reviewing the documents. Most seemed straightforward, until I found something odd in last year's tax return, a schedule detailing business expenses for consulting work I had no knowledge of. Further digging revealed bank statements for an account I'd never seen, registered to a LLC with Doug listed as the sole proprietor. I forwarded everything to Nicole, who called me the next morning, excitement evident in her voice. "Lorraine, this is exactly what we needed. Your husband has been running income through a shell company for at least 3 years. The transfers align perfectly with his promotion timeline. I suspect he's been siphoning money systematically, preparing for his exit. Is that illegal? If he's been hiding marital assets, absolutely. And there's something else unusual I noticed. There are regular transfers to an offshore account beginning 18 months ago, around $2,500 monthly. The timing corresponds with when you said his relationship with Stacy likely began. The pieces suddenly clicked together. He's been funding their relationship with our money for over 1.5 years. It appears so. And here's where it gets interesting, he's been sloppy with the documentation. These transactions create a clear paper trail we can present to the court. For the first time since Doug left, I felt a glimmer of power. We had evidence. We had facts. We had a story that couldn't be dismissed as the emotional reaction of an abandoned wife. Meanwhile, Tyler's teacher, Grace, had become an unexpected ally. After noticing his continued struggles, she offered to provide additional support during lunch periods and recommended him for the school's mentorship program. "Tyler's a bright boy dealing with adult-sized problems," she told me during a parent-teacher conference. "But I see his resilience. He just needs extra support right now." Her kindness brought tears to my eyes. "We both do," I admitted. "It's been overwhelming." Grace hesitated, then said, "My brother went through something similar when his wife left. He found a more aggressive attorney through the county's legal aid program, someone who specialized in cases involving financial misconduct. The next day, I contacted the program and was connected with Jennifer Martinez, an attorney whose reputation for tenacity preceded her. Unlike Ashley's measured, cautious approach, Jennifer's strategy was direct and assertive. "Based on what you've shared and Nicole's preliminary findings, we have grounds for an emergency financial order," she explained during our first meeting. "We can potentially freeze any remaining assets and compel disclosure of all accounts." "Doug's attorney has been threatening to sue for custody," I said, the fear still raw, claiming I'm emotionally unstable. Jennifer's expression hardened. "That's a standard intimidation tactic. Let's be clear, your husband abandoned his family, emptied joint accounts, and disappeared with another woman. No family court judge will look favorably on those actions, regardless of how he tries to spin your response." With Jennifer's guidance and Nicole's financial expertise, we developed a strategic approach. Rather than responding emotionally to Doug's provocations, we would build a methodical case documenting his financial misconduct. Jennifer filed an emergency petition for temporary support based on abandonment, while Nicole continued tracing the money trail. Tyler began seeing Dr. Susan Reynolds, a child psychologist specializing in parental abandonment. Though expensive, these sessions became a priority in our stretched budget. Gradually, I saw small improvements, his nightmares decreased, and he began showing interest in soccer again. "He's processing his grief appropriately," Dr. Reynolds assured me. "Your transparency about the situation, without burdening him with details, has been helpful. Children are remarkably resilient when they feel secure in at least one parental relationship." My own stability improved when I accepted a full-time position at a design agency where I'd previously freelanced. The regular income and health insurance benefits provided a foundation I desperately needed, though the office hours meant finding after-school care for Tyler. Our neighbor, Tanya, a retired teacher, offered to watch him until I got home. My grandchildren live across the country, she explained. I'd love the company, and frankly, I've been worried about you two. These small acts of kindness from relative strangers often brought me to tears. In the wreckage Doug had created, a community was forming around us, offering support I never expected. As we implemented our strategic plan, Nicole made a breakthrough discovery. The regular transfers to the offshore account matched almost exactly the timeline of Doug's relationship with Stacy, and the pattern of withdrawals aligned with weekend business trips that, in retrospect, were likely rendezvous with her. Even more significant, Nicole found evidence suggesting Doug had been systematically embezzling from his company, disguising personal expenses as business costs and potentially falsifying client accounts. If this is accurate, she said cautiously, he's not just hiding marital assets, he's committing corporate fraud. That's criminal, not just civil. I sat with this information for days, uncertain how to proceed. Using it meant potentially sending the father of my child to jail. Yet he had shown no remorse, no concern for Tyler's well-being, and continued threatening me with custody battles while enjoying our stolen money. The decision became clearer when Jennifer received a settlement offer from Doug's attorney. He would agree to pay $500 monthly in child support in exchange for me assuming all marital debt and relinquishing any claim to his retirement accounts or future earnings. This isn't just insulting, it's delusional, Jennifer said, indignation clear in her voice. He's offering a fraction of standard support while keeping all assets and leaving you with the debt he created. His attorney must know this would never stand up in court. So why offer it? Testing your desperation. Seeing if you're broken enough to accept crumbs. Jennifer's expression softened slightly, which means they're worried about what we might find. We're on the right track. That evening, I received an unexpected message on social media from an account I didn't recognize. Opening it revealed a simple text. Is this Lorraine Jenkins? I need to speak with you about Douglas and Stacy. It's important. The sender identified himself as Ryan Braddock. A quick search revealed he was a successful businessman in the healthcare sector. My curiosity piqued. I responded cautiously, and we arranged a phone call for the following day. Ryan's voice was deep and measured, his words careful. Mrs. Jenkins, I believe we have a common problem. Until 3 days ago, I thought Stacy Braddock was my faithful wife of 8 years. My hand flew to my mouth in shock. Stacy is married? To you? Yes. We've been having difficulties, and she said she needed space. Apparently, that space was in Hawaii with your husband. His tone remained controlled, but I could hear the underlying pain. I discovered their relationship through credit card statements showing expenses for jewelry and travel I knew nothing about. My mind raced with implications. Mr. Braddock, I don't mean to be blunt, but this changes everything about my situation. My husband left me with substantial debt to pursue a relationship with a woman who's married to someone else, which is why I'm contacting you, Ryan said. I have resources and motivation to uncover exactly what they've been doing. I believe combining our information could benefit us both. By the end of our conversation, an alliance had formed. Ryan would share documentation of Stacy's financial activities, potentially revealing where some of our missing money had gone. In exchange, I would share Nicole's findings regarding the timeline of their relationship. That night, I updated Jennifer and Nicole about this unexpected development. Jennifer's response was immediate. This changes our strategy entirely. We now have evidence that Doug abandoned your family to pursue a relationship with a married woman, potentially using embezzled funds and marital assets to do so. For the first time since Doug's departure, I felt something like optimism. We had uncovered a pattern of deception that went far beyond a simple marital breakdown. Doug and Stacy weren't just affair partners, they were potentially co-conspirators in financial fraud. As I tucked Tyler into bed that night, he seemed to sense the shift in my mood. You look different, Mom, he observed. Less sad. I smoothed his hair back from his forehead. I'm starting to see a way forward for us. A way that doesn't involve being angry or scared all the time. Are we going to be okay? He asked, the child's perpetual question in times of crisis. Yes, I said, with genuine confidence for the first time. We're going to be better than okay. Armed with Ryan's information and Nicole's forensic analysis, Jennifer filed an amended divorce petition detailing Doug's financial misconduct. The document requested full financial disclosure, temporary exclusive use of the marital home, primary physical custody of Tyler, and immediate child support based on Doug's actual income, not what he'd been officially reporting. This puts the ball firmly in his court, Jennifer explained. He can either comply with financial disclosure, revealing the full extent of his hidden assets, or he can fight it and appear uncooperative to the court. I expected an immediate, angry response from Doug or his attorney. Instead, silence. 1 day passed, then 3, then a week, with no communication. This isn't necessarily bad, Jennifer assured me. He's consulting with his lawyer, realizing his position isn't as strong as he thought. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding stability for Tyler and myself. My new position at the design agency provided structure and regular income. Tyler's sessions with Dr. Reynolds continued showing progress. We created new routines. Friday movie nights, Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon bike rides. Small touch points of normality in our still chaotic life. Ryan and I continued sharing information, our conversations evolving from strictly business to something approaching friendship. He understood the betrayal in a way others couldn't, regardless of the differences in our financial situations. The money isn't actually what hurts most, he confided during one call. It's the realization that someone you built a life with could lie so convincingly, for so long. Exactly, I agreed. It makes you question every memory, every moment you thought was genuine. Nicole's investigation continued, yielding results. By cross-referencing Doug's known business trips with credit card statements Ryan provided, she established a timeline showing Doug and Stacy had been meeting at luxury hotels for nearly 2 years, always disguised as legitimate business expenses. More significantly, she identified a pattern of suspicious transfers from Doug's company accounts to the Shell LLC he'd established, amounts that exceeded any legitimate business expenses or compensation. I'm not comfortable making accusations without more evidence, Nicole cautioned, but these transactions bear all the hallmarks of embezzlement. The timing and amounts don't align with any legitimate business purpose I can identify. The implications were serious. If Doug had indeed been embezzling from his company, he faced not just divorce repercussions, but potential criminal charges. I debated my next steps carefully. Using this information felt both powerful and frightening. Doug was still Tyler's father, regardless of his actions. Did I want him to potentially go to prison? How would that affect Tyler's already fragile emotional state? Jennifer advised caution. We have strong evidence for the divorce proceedings without involving his employer. Let's focus on securing your financial stability and custody first. I might have followed this more measured approach if Doug hadn't forced my hand. 10 days after our amended filing, his response came in the form of a counter-petition so vicious it left me breathless. He claimed I had been emotionally abusive throughout our marriage, had alienated Tyler against him, and was mentally unstable. He requested full custody and demanded I undergo psychological evaluation. Each false accusation felt like a physical blow. The man who had abandoned us, stolen our financial security, and disappeared with a married woman now claimed I was abusive and unstable. This is desperate, Jennifer said after reviewing the document. He's attacking your character because he can't defend his actions. It's actually a good sign he's worried. Even knowing it was a tactical move, the accusations devastated me. Tyler's school counselor Madison called that afternoon, concerned about comments he'd made during their session. Tyler mentioned being worried about you losing custody, she explained gently. Has something happened that he might have overheard? I realized Tyler must have seen me reading the petition. His father is making some custody claims. I thought I was keeping Tyler insulated from the legal details, but he's perceptive. Children often absorb more than we realize, Madison said. Tyler expressed fear of being taken away. I think he needs explicit reassurance that's not going to happen. That evening, I sat Tyler down for a difficult but necessary conversation. I want you to know that no matter what happens with the divorce, you are staying with me, I said firmly. Dad has a right to see you, but our home is together. But what if a judge makes me go live with him and Stacy? The fear in his eyes was palpable. That's not going to happen, I assured him. The judge will consider what's best for you, and that's stability with the parent who's been caring for you all along. Tyler's face crumpled. I don't want to see him at all. He lied and stole our money and made you cry. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. I understand those feelings. Dad hurt us both. But he's still your father, and someday you might want a relationship with him again. That door should stay open, even if we're angry right now. Did you tell the judge about the bad things he did? Our lawyers are handling everything. Your job is just to be a kid and let me worry about the adult stuff. Remember our agreement? He nodded solemnly. You handle the adult problems. I handle being 10. After Tyler went to bed, I called Ryan to update him on the latest developments. His response surprised me. Lorraine, I think it's time to be more aggressive. They're clearly not interested in a reasonable resolution. What are you suggesting? I've been having my own investigator look into Stacy's activities. He's found evidence suggesting she's been passing confidential information from my company to competitors. Given what Nicole has uncovered about Doug's potential embezzlement, I'm considering going directly to his employer with what we know. I hesitated. That would escalate things significantly. They've already escalated by attacking your character and threatening your custody, Ryan pointed out. These aren't people who respond to reasonable approaches. After discussing it with Jennifer, I made a difficult decision. We would submit our evidence of potential financial impropriety to Doug's employer, requesting they conduct their own internal investigation. The submission would be factual and unemotional, simply presenting the concerning patterns we'd identified. Jennifer carefully drafted the letter, focusing on the discrepancies rather than making direct accusations. This approach protects you from any claims of defamation, she explained. We're not stating he embezzled funds, only highlighting transactions that warrant examination. 3 days after sending the letter, Doug's world began unraveling. His company placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. Stacy, who had been flaunting their relationship on social media, suddenly made all her accounts private. Ryan reported she had returned to their shared home, claiming the relationship with Doug had been a mistake. Then the call I'd been waiting for. Doug, speaking directly to me for the first time since his departure. What have you done? His voice vibrated with fury. Do you have any idea what you've set in motion? I've done exactly what you forced me to do, I replied, surprising myself with my calm. You left us with nothing, threatened to take my son, and accused me of being abusive. Did you expect me to just accept that? This is going to ruin me, Lorraine. Is that what you want? For Tyler to have a father who can't even get a job? The manipulation was so transparent it almost made me laugh. What I want is for Tyler to have a father who takes responsibility for his actions, who acknowledges the harm he's caused and tries to make amends. Can you do that, Doug? His response was telling. Not contrition or acknowledgement, but more threats. You'll regret this. When I'm done, you'll be lucky if you get supervised visitation. After he hung up, I sat in perfect stillness, processing what had just happened. The man I'd loved for 12 years, father of my child, had become someone I barely recognized. There was no remorse, no concern for his son's well-being, only rage at being held accountable. I forwarded the recording of our call, which I'd started on Jennifer's advice the moment I saw his number, to my legal team. One more piece of evidence, Jennifer said. His threats and tone speak volumes. The following day, Doug and Stacy's Hawaiian engagement photos disappeared from social media. Ryan confirmed Stacy had moved most of her belongings out of their home, destination unknown. Doug's company expanded their investigation, requesting additional financial records going back 5 years. The carefully constructed new life they had planned, built on theft and deception, was crumbling under scrutiny. As Nicole had predicted, their financial maneuvers left a clear paper trail once someone knew where to look. 3 weeks after our evidence submission, Doug's employer announced his termination for violations of company financial policies and breach of fiduciary duty. The press release was carefully worded to avoid direct accusations of criminal activity, but the implication was clear. That same afternoon, I received a call from Doug's attorney requesting an urgent settlement conference. His tone, previously dismissive and aggressive, was now conciliatory, even deferential. My client is interested in resolving this matter expeditiously, without further escalation, he explained. We believe we can find terms agreeable to both parties. Jennifer advised cautious optimism. This is a significant shift, but don't expect a complete capitulation. They're trying to salvage what they can. The settlement conference was scheduled for the following week. As I prepared with my legal team, reviewing our position and priorities, I realized how much had changed in just 2 months. I was no longer a devastated victim, but an advocate fighting effectively for myself and my son. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had transformed into something productive. The night before the conference, Tyler asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Mom, are you and Dad going to stop fighting soon?" I sat beside him on the couch, our evening ritual of shared reading interrupted. "We're working on resolving our disagreements, yes." "Why do you ask?" Jackson's parents fought for 2 years after their divorce. He said it was worse than when they were together. The innocence of his concern touched me deeply. "This isn't going to be like that, Tyler. Dad and I are working with lawyers to make clear agreements about money and time with you. There might be some more difficult conversations, but the worst part is almost over." He leaned against my shoulder, his small body warm against mine. "Good. Because I like our new life, just us. It's quieter." His simple observation made me realize something important. In focusing so intently on what we'd lost, I'd missed what we'd gained. A more authentic relationship with my son. Freedom from walking on eggshells around Doug's moods. The discovery of my own strength and resilience. As Tyler drifted off to sleep that night, I thought about the settlement conference ahead. Whatever terms we reached, whatever financial resolution emerged, we had already achieved the most important victory. We had survived the worst and found our way to something new and surprisingly peaceful. The road ahead would still have challenges, but for the first time, I felt genuinely confident in our ability to face them together. The settlement conference began tense but businesslike, a stark contrast to the emotional accusations that had characterized our legal exchanges thus far. Doug sat across the conference table, noticeably thinner and less polished than when he'd left. His attorney spoke first, outlining a proposed agreement. "My client is prepared to assume full responsibility for all marital debts, including credit cards, and the mortgage until the house can be sold. He will pay child support according to state guidelines based on his previous salary." Jennifer's expression remained neutral. "And the college fund? The liquidated savings?" "Mr. Jenkins acknowledges those funds were inappropriately accessed and is prepared to restore them in full, with interest, over a 3-year period." I glanced at Doug, who stared fixedly at the table, avoiding my eyes. This sudden reasonableness after months of threats and evasion seemed suspicious. "What prompted this change in position?" Jennifer asked directly. Doug's attorney cleared his throat. "My client wishes to resolve this matter efficiently and move forward." The real answer became clear when Jennifer requested detailed financial disclosures to establish the repayment schedule. Doug's attorney hesitated before revealing that his client was under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission regarding financial irregularities at his former company. It would be beneficial for all parties to reach a civil resolution before any potential criminal proceedings commence, he explained carefully. Suddenly, Doug's cooperation made sense. He needed to demonstrate accountability and contrition to mitigate potential criminal penalties. I was being offered a fair settlement, not out of remorse or decency, but as part of Doug's legal strategy to appear cooperative. We'll need to review all documentation before agreeing to terms, Jennifer stated firmly. And we have additional concerns regarding custody and visitation. My client is willing to accept supervised visitation initially, his attorney offered. Another surprising concession. I studied Doug, noting the defeat in his posture. The man who had threatened to take my son was now agreeing to supervised visits. How dramatically his position had deteriorated. The negotiations continued for 6 hours, resulting in a preliminary agreement addressing financial restitution, child support, and limited supervised visitation. The house would be sold, with proceeds first covering the remaining mortgage, then the credit card debt Doug had incurred, with any remainder split equally. Doug would restore Tyler's college fund through monthly payments, secured by a legal judgment. As we prepared to leave, Doug finally spoke directly to me. "Can I have 5 minutes? Alone?" Jennifer gave me a questioning look. I nodded. "It's fine." When the room cleared, Doug seemed to collapse in on himself. "I never meant for things to get this bad." "What did you mean then?" I asked, genuine curiosity replacing anger. "When you emptied our accounts and maxed out our credit cards, what exactly did you think would happen to us?" "I wasn't thinking about that," he admitted. "I was just desperate to start over." Stacy made everything seem possible. "Where is she now?" A bitter smile crossed his face. "Gone. Back to Ryan trying to save what she can. She left the day after I was fired." I felt no satisfaction at this news, only a profound sadness for the wreckage one man's midlife crisis had created. "Tyler asks about you sometimes." Doug looked up sharply. "He does?" "He's confused and hurt, but you're still his father. That doesn't just disappear because you left." "I'd like to see him when this is all settled." I nodded. "The supervised visitation is a starting point. If you show up consistently and rebuild trust, we can revisit the arrangement." As I stood to leave, Doug asked one final question. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" The question deserved honest consideration. "I don't know. Right now, I'm focused on rebuilding our lives. Forgiveness might come later, or it might not. That's not something I can promise." 1 month after the settlement conference, the evidence Nicole had gathered proved crucial when the SEC formally charged Doug with financial misconduct. Rather than face trial, he accepted a plea agreement requiring full restitution to his company and a ban from holding financial positions in publicly traded companies. The criminal proceedings accelerated our divorce settlement. With Doug facing potential incarceration, his attorney pushed to finalize all arrangements. The terms remained essentially as we'd negotiated, with additional protections ensuring child support would continue even during any period of incarceration. Throughout this upheaval, Tyler continued his sessions with Dr. Reynolds, processing his complex feelings about his father. Initially resistant to the idea of visitation, he eventually agreed to a supervised meeting at Dr. Reynolds' office. "It won't be just you and Dad," I explained carefully. "Dr. Reynolds will be there the whole time, and you can end the visit whenever you want." "What if he tries to say bad things about you?" Tyler worried. "Dr. Reynolds won't allow that. This time is just for you two to start rebuilding your relationship, not to discuss adult matters." The first visit was awkward but peaceful. Tyler returned quiet but thoughtful. "Dad said he was sorry," he reported. "He cried a little." "How did that make you feel?" Tyler considered the question seriously. "Weird, but also kind of better? Like maybe he really does feel bad about what he did." These small steps toward healing continued over the following months. Doug received a 2-year sentence, eligible for parole after 8 months, and continued supervised visits with Tyler until his incarceration began. Though initially reluctant, Tyler gradually became more comfortable during these meetings, a testament to children's capacity for resilience and forgiveness. Meanwhile, our life reconfigured itself into a new normal. The house sold quickly, allowing us to clear the debt Doug had created. We moved into a smaller but charming apartment, closer to Tyler's school and my office, reducing both expenses and commute times. My position at the design agency evolved into a creative director role with increased responsibility and compensation. Tyler returned to soccer, made new friends, and gradually stopped having nightmares about being abandoned. Nicole and Jennifer remained not just professional resources but friends, checking in periodically and offering guidance as we navigated our new circumstances. Ryan, whose own divorce from Stacy proceeded without the drama of ours, made a surprising offer 6 months after our initial contact. "I've been impressed by your design work," he said, during one of our now regular coffee meetings. "My healthcare company is launching a new patient portal and needs a complete rebrand. Would your agency be interested in bidding on the project?" The contract his company ultimately awarded us became a cornerstone of my professional advancement, providing both financial security and creative challenge. When I thanked Ryan for the opportunity, his response was thoughtful. "Sometimes good things emerge from terrible situations. I'd never have known your work if our spouses hadn't made their catastrophic choices." His perspective helped me recognize that amid the pain and betrayal, unexpected gifts had emerged. New friendships, professional growth, a deeper, more honest relationship with Tyler, and, most importantly, the discovery of my own capacity to overcome crisis. 1 year after Doug's departure, Tyler and I planted a small garden in the community plot near our apartment. As we pressed tomato and pepper seedlings into the spring soil, Tyler made an observation that captured our journey perfectly. "Remember when Dad first left and you cried all the time?" he asked, patting soil around a fragile plant. "The money isn't actually what hurts most," he confided during one call. "It's the realization that someone you built a life with could lie so convincingly for so long. But we figured it out, right?" Pride colored his voice. "We made a new life, just us." "I do," I answered honestly. "That was a really hard time." Tyler nodded seriously. "Dr. Reynolds says, sometimes families break and then come back together in different shapes. Our family is smaller now, but it's still good." His simple wisdom brought tears to my eyes. It is good, isn't it? Different, but good. As we finished planting, I reflected on the journey from that devastating morning when I found Doug's note. The path from victim to survivor hadn't been linear or easy. There had been setbacks, dark nights, and moments of despair. But ultimately, we had found our way through to something authentic and strong. The true victory wasn't in the legal settlement, Doug's eventual accountability, or even our financial recovery. It was in reclaiming our story, refusing to be defined by abandonment, and building something new from the ashes of betrayal. That evening, as Tyler and I sat on our small balcony watching the sunset, I felt a sense of peace I'd once thought impossible to reclaim. We had weathered the worst storm of our lives and emerged not just surviving, but in many ways stronger than before. Life would continue bringing challenges, as it does for everyone. But now I faced them knowing my own strength, surrounded by genuine support, and modeling for my son the power of resilience over bitterness. In choosing to fight back strategically rather than vengefully, I had reclaimed not just our financial security, but something far more valuable, our sense of agency and hope. Have you ever faced a betrayal that seemed impossible to overcome? How did you find your way through to the other side? I'd love to hear your stories of resilience and renewal in the comments below. And if you found value in our journey, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with someone who might need to hear that there is life and hope after devastating loss. Thank you for witnessing our story, and I wish you strength and peace on your own path. Whatever challenges you may be facing,